Actually, let me start over. I just hit the record button. I do know we have a lot of community members joining us this evening. We have two projects to review tonight. We have 7561 Washington Boulevard, which is going to be reviewed first. And then following that meeting, we will have the Scott property project. So I apologize if you have to bear with us through the first project if you're waiting for the second, but I wanted to give you sort of a update on the schedule for this evening since we did have the two projects. With that, we are recording. So Bob Gorman, if you wanted to go ahead and start the DAP meeting, we are all set to go.
Okay, thanks very much. Welcome. I know that your team is familiar with the drill here, but just to go over it for anyone who's listening in, we want you all to introduce yourselves. We'll introduce ourselves. We give you about 15 minutes to make your presentation. Then there'll be a staff report from DPZ. Then the DAP will do a question and answer period, and then we'll make formal recommendations and vote on that for the record to inform the DPZ. So without further ado, I'm Bob Gorman. I'm the Vice Chairman of the DAP. I'm a landscape architect and planner. Larry?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Larry Quarrick, and I'm a landscape architect.
Dan?
Civil engineer.
I think we have Vivian.
Yes, hi, Vivian Stone, architect.
And who else is on?
Ethan Marchant, I'm an architect.
Do we have any other panel members? Okay, Rob, if you want to introduce your team.
Sure. My name's Rob Vogel. I'm the project civil engineer, and Ron Brazier's office can take it.
Sorry, I'm Brendan Glass. I'm an architect with Brazier. Ron Brazier, our design principal.
I'm Victoria Crouch, our plan hold architect with Brazier Design.
Anyone else? Okay, you can start your presentation, Rob.
Thank you. Again, my name is Rob Vogel. I'd like to first say I can't wait to do this in person again because I think I have Zoom fatigue, and it'll be great to see everyone in person very soon. So this particular project is 7561 Washington Boulevard. It is the site is located on this particular map. Little background information. We are located obviously between 175, north of 175, south of Route 100. We are located this project's located on the east side of Route 1 or Washington Boulevard and is located just south of Kit Kat Road. Kit Kat Road is located here. Things I'd like to point out is the continuing Blue Stream project that we've been involved with over the years, which is located just south of the subject site and on the opposite side of Route 1. Adjacent to that is the Morris Place project, which is located here, if you could see my cursor, actually directly opposite on the opposite side of Route 1 and behind the flea market property, which we all hope will redevelop at some point in time. Just to the north of that is a church, which is a historic structure located on that property. And then just actually your other project, I think, is located close by, and the business parkway is located here, and all the large office, actually mostly warehouse and flex warehouse space is located off of Business Parkway. The reason I started with Blue and south of Blue Stream, going down toward 175, we have the Howard Square residential project with which I believe does have some retail in it. Adjacent to around our particular facility are some office and a flex warehouse that the Merit organization owns, who we have been working with in conjunction with our project, and I'll touch on that in a bit. And there is basically a shared use in common access from Route 1, which provides the access to this property. Again, a little bit of background. We were before you with a project on Kit Kat Road not that long ago. That project will be going through rezoning. Maryland State Highway recently completed a project at Kit Kat Road and Route 1 for safety improvements at that intersection. That'll show up on our site plan in a little bit more detail. There, in conjunction with that, a sidewalk was constructed along the frontage of that Kit Kat Road property and up to the intersection. Just recently, the formal signal at Blue Stream Drive and Route 1 was completed, including a pedestrian signal for crossing Route 1. And the nursing home facility is located on the other side of Route 1 from the Blue Stream property. And that includes sidewalk along Route 1, and as our project is also proposing sidewalk. So the reason I'm bringing a lot of this up is what we're hoping for is that this proposed small retail use, or retail with several uses, will be accessible by pedestrians from these new higher density residential projects that don't contain any retail and don't to serve their community. So it's great to have the pedestrian crossing across Route 1, and then ultimately the pedestrian connection to this site. And I think that's an important point, and actually I hope that makes for a successful project for our client. Next is just a series of pictures. If you've been to the site, it's probably going to be kind of boring, but basically pictures starting at number 1, 2, 3, looking from northbound Route 1 in towards the property. The first picture is taken where you're capturing the Merit Flex building located next door. And then the subsequent pictures moving up Route 1, including you're seeing the basically the residential type, old residential building that occupies the site currently, with the green space in front, the overhead power lines along Route 1 as well. You'll see on the site plan that the Route 1 right of way is rather significant, and there is an area that we have to be set back from that future right of way line. The pictures continue around the to the use in common driveway that serves the properties and buildings behind the subject property. That would be this 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. There's really nothing substantial about those pictures other than you can see what that entrance currently looks like. This is us. This is the subject site is within the dotted area. The right-of-way line is very subtle, but runs across the front of along the front of the site. The building setback. This particular site was rezoned to B1. It was a site-specific rezoning. And it was what they call site plan rezoning, that this is basically the use that it was rezoned for. Again, we're limited what we can do in front of the right-of-way line. And so and we have to be set back from that right-of-way line. It's a little different than some of the other properties in the area, which are zoned CE and CAC. We are zoned, as I mentioned, B1. A little bit about what we're proposing. Obviously, the architects are going to speak to the building and the architecture and all those related items. We are using, as I said, access from the existing use and common driveway, access the site, parking lot behind the building. It would have been advantageous to us for setback reasons for us to have parking in front, because we could have the parking as close as 30 feet, but, or I'm sorry, as close as 10 feet, but in accordance with the Route 1 manual and wanting to keep that parking hidden behind the building and not have it out front. We will be extending our sidewalk. The sidewalk on the other side of the entrance where my cursor is actually constructed. That was constructed in conjunction with that SHA project I had mentioned earlier, with the safety improvements and signalization at the existing Kit Kat Road intersection. There's actually a bioretention that was also constructed there in conjunction with that project. We're proposing to have basically a public patio area located where we're within our property, just behind the right-of-way line, where we would anticipate some furniture, outdoor furniture, and seating at that location for use not only by visitors to this site and folks who would be using these retail establishments, but also by the public at large. As I mentioned, we have these denser residential projects developing in the CAC zone. We do anticipate that we will have a fair amount of pedestrian traffic to this retail, in addition to the vehicles. So for that, we have some spaces that folks can grab a drink, grab a coffee, or for that matter, just be out walking the dog and want a place to kind of sit and rest. And that we've created this little patio area. It's tucked into the topography. If you notice on the pictures, the grade drops in here a little bit from Route 1, and it will have a little bit of a sitting wall located here around the perimeter of the patio. It serves to take up grade. It also serves to give a little character to that patio, and actually is seating height, so it also serves as some additional seating. Again, our connection to Route 1 is not only pedestrian friendly, it's handicap friendly as well. Again, parking's oriented to the rear. Architect will speak to the front and the presentation of the front. We also have some patio area we're trying to show on the side if needed, but by the uses. And to the rear, we have the site falls from Route 1 to the rear. We have stormwater management located here. We are in what the Dorsey Run watershed, which requires us also to address 100-year stormwater management. In addition to having ESD practices, we also we're burdened with providing full stormwater detention, which isn't required in other areas of the county. Then the next issue we had to deal with was, how do we outfall the stormwater from this site? We decided that the best thing we could do is approach the Merritts, and we did, and the Merritts were wonderful to work with and are in the process of granting an easement to tie our underground stormwater detention into their storm drain system so that we don't have the continuation of what it is today, which is basically just unmanaged, unmitigated runoff from this site going onto the Merritt site. There will be landscaping, and I apologize that the landscaping didn't show up on this image, but there will be landscaping proposed all around the site. We do have a slide that that depicts the landscaping. The dumpster location was picked back in this rear corner for several reasons. Number one, obviously to get it away from the building, keep it out of the view shed of the public. And frankly, it's operationally, it's at a great location for a dumpster truck to be able to come in, comfortably make these turns, back up, and exit the same way he returned. So it's a very easy movement that way. These are the site sections that we put together for the project. Section A is a section taken front to back from basically from Route 1, which is on the right side of Section A, through the building, the rear parking lot, and then you can see the dumpster enclosure on that section, the microbiome retention facility, and then the drop down into the parking lot for that industrial building located to the rear. The other section, B, is taken basically across the use in common driveway and through the building, and then to the other industrial building that enjoys the same access, and that is shown on section BB. This is the building on the other side. And this is the shared driveway, and again, the building. So that's a section looking through there. These are just some site amenities, kind of consistent actually with the other amenities on the other project for some consistency. The same type of overhead lighting, some typical trash receptacles, and some possible seating that would be included in that patio area. This is our palette of vegetation that we're proposing. The trees are consistent with the trees proposed on the other project that you had reviewed, and the shrubs are also consistent with that same palette. So we're trying to have a little bit of continuity through this area. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Brazier's office, and if they could just let me know when they want me to proceed on sections. But this is the first, or the proceed on slides. This is the first slide for the Brazier folks.
Route 1 rendering.
We can start here and go to it. Thank you, Rob. We have deferred to the guidance of the Route 1 design manual by organizing the site and designing the building to encourage walkability and enhance the streetscape. The building is situated on the site close to the setback to maximize the interaction of the primary facade that you can see on those elevations there with the Route 1 corridor. And parking, of course, is shielded from view. Public accessible amenity spaces are proposed to integrate the functions of the building with its immediate environment and the surrounding community. To further enhance this relationship, we have provided human scale rhythmic design with a more dynamic treatment to articulate the building corners, encouraging mobility and human activity around the site. The storefront facades that you can see on this elevation are typical of a pedestrian scale and shaded with awnings and metal canopies to enhance visual comfort, reduce glare, and add to texture and depth to the building. On these elevations, you can see the variety of materials that we have used, including fiber cement, brick veneer, wood composite panels, fabric canopies, and metal canopies, lots of texture, a variety of a natural color palette, and the articulation of the facade with the parapets raising and lowering at each bay to provide a more human scale and to break up the scale of the building. Next slide, please, Rob. Thank you. So this slide does a good job of showing how we are emphasizing the corner of Route 1 and that common access drive, both with our architecture with the raised parapet, the metal canopies, and also with providing the site amenities of that patio out there to really emphasize pedestrian activity and engagement from vehicles passing by the site. The building is very close to Route 1, and so you feel that it is part of the streetscape and the community. The couple slides back when Rob was showing the site furniture, that palette of that site furniture directly relates to the wood composite panels and the metal storefront that we are showing on our building. All of the glass is shaded either with a fabric awning or a metal canopy to reduce glare for the people walking on the sidewalks, and also to reduce glare and too much sunlight coming into the building itself. Next slide, please. So this is the rear of the building where you can see the parking lot. And it just shows that we are treating the building on all sides equally as important. You know, there is no bad backside to the building. It's all articulate for the pedestrians and the people who are going to be using the space. And the same materials are being carried around everywhere. Anything you want to add?
No,
Yeah.
did you hit your bullet points?
I think so, yeah. We broke it up, the materials.
Mhm.
So yeah, so hopefully this building becomes a good amenity for all those other housing developments that Rob was speaking of. People would be able to easily access it and provide some community services in this location. But that is the end of our part of the presentation.
Okay, Nick, you want to give the staff report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the design team. You guys put together a very, thorough and comprehensive presentation for the proposed retail center at 7561 Washington Boulevard. Parcel 33, on which this, proposal is to move forward. It's 1.74 acres. As Mr. Vogel mentioned, it is B1, but does have direct frontage on Washington Boulevard Route 1, and is therefore subject to the Howard County Route 1 design manual with all the guidelines and stuff set there forth. Fairly simple layout. It's retail structure, parking behind, and then looking to tie into the pedestrian aspect. It does also, as Mr. Vogel mentioned, it does border the Kit Kat property, which this panel reviewed last year for roughly the same sort of proposal. It was commercial, as you recall, retail in the rear. There was restaurant and I believe gas station and convenience store up front. And so they're utilizing a lot of the same plant palette design and design elements to sort of tie these projects together and get them to really work together. Department of Planning and Zoning would like the panel to evaluate the orientation, layout, and configuration of the site plan, and specifically how it relates to the Route 1 frontage. Are there any recommendations that the panel could make for the frontage design? How could maybe perhaps interface with Route 1, maybe a little bit better, maybe some landscape or site elements, that the panel that they maybe haven't considered to help, give this project maybe a little bit more of a presence along the streetscape. Any recommendations on proposed building material updates, are maybe articulation and massing of the structure itself would be recommended. So if the panel could, perhaps touch on some of these items, DPZ would be greatly appreciative.
Okay, we invite the panel to ask any questions they might have. Vivian, do you want to start?
Sure, can I just go ahead and start with some comments?
Sure.
Okay. Overall, thank you for a very thorough presentation. I appreciate the gestures towards recognizing the Route 1 guidelines. And, I think the guidelines really help in enforcing that street presence and pushing the building face closer up to Route 1. Just a couple comments. I see that it's a very symmetrical scheme, and I'm wondering if it might benefit from breaking up the symmetry a little bit and responding to the site itself. Going with that, taking that corner accent that you've tried to pick up on and emphasize that a little bit more on I guess it's the corner on, let me see what the name of that street is, but the street intersection, essentially, what is the name of that street? Hold on one second.
And Vivian, Rob, could you go back to this front elevation, the front rendering? So okay, Vivian,
Yeah.
maybe you can address that more.
Yeah, so, hold on, what is this street? Is it, that intersects Route 1?
The public street?
Yeah, something
So
road. Oh, no, it says private road.
Yeah, this road is a private road.
Private
Yeah,
road.
Yep.
Okay, so that corner, I'm wondering if just because of the way that site is, that's kind of, to me, the real corner of the site. I know it's kind of a little plot of land. To me, it would make sense to take that corner. So if you're looking, let me go back to your presentation. So yeah, this corner closest to Samson's corner, if that, maybe you made something special out of that just to break it up a little bit. And then I just feel like it could be a little more interesting if you didn't go with the pure symmetry, that you've got right now, just broke it up a little bit and then did something to carry the horizontal lines across so that right now I just feel like it reads very choppy. Like I'm wondering if you could take the horizontal lines across, maybe the same color, some bands that go across, or just some kind of additional articulation to weave that all together. And I'm looking for, I do see you have the light sconces and you've got the doors and the storefront broken down, but if there could be a little bit more, I don't know, another element to break that wall up a little bit more on the street. I'm I'm also struggling with the fact that, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to treat the front and the back equally so that, you're not ignoring one side, but functionally you are going to have a service side. And I'm wondering where your how you imagine the service entrance would be. Because functionally to me, I appreciate the sidewalks and people walking along the street here. It creates a very lovely space, but I'm wondering if really what is the front door? Like, are people going to park and come around to the front and have that be the front, or are they going to just park? So I'm thinking about Maple, for example. I guess those buildings, the street front really is the main entrance, and they do have the back is more of a service entrance. They're all, nicely articulated, but I'm wondering if, you made more of a distinction between the front and the back so that, you had more storefront on the front of the building. And then that would be really the focus of where you have a lot of the pedestrian oriented articulation of the facade, whereas the back you don't necessarily want it to look like a service, but I think there needs to be a little bit more distinction between which side is the main entrance and how they're treated. I think that's kind of what I'm struggling with right now. I think it needs a little bit more articulation, and That's kind of what I'm struggling with now. I don't really, maybe Ethan will have some more insight into that. But other than that, thank you. Really good presentation. Appreciate it. That's all I had.
Ethan?
Yes, hi. I have a couple comments, and I think they do tooth in nicely to Vivian's concerns. You know, I certainly appreciate the attention to the pedestrian frontage and the creation of a plaza. I think we'd all be foolish to think that the front door would not be treated by a tenant who had a choice along the parking lot. And I think as you go forward, I think it needs to be thought of what happens when these storefronts facing Route 1 get a vinyl film put on the top to block the view into the service, which is probably more than likely going to happen. And is there landscape that can help sort of create a veil that mitigates that kind of severe approach to the main street? The comment about articulating the corner, creating some additional height or something that kind of stakes the corner in this particular rendering, I think is a really great suggestion and could go a long way. I think it could also address, you know, some way of screening rooftop mechanical equipment per your sections. I know they're very schematic in nature. But you know, we know the land falls away from the street, so the high point is really Route 1. So it's working against you even as close as you are, it is a low building. The section shows very low parapets. I don't know if that's just, you know, their intent is to show the site features and not the buildings, but I think sightline studies for the mechanicals on this fairly low building is quite important. And then finally, like I touched on, you know, the landscaping. I think it would be really interesting, and if I recall, I could be wrong, but if I recall, your same team addressed the building site next to this project, and to look at that in context, you know, with this building as that street front landscape kind of carries through, doesn't have to necessarily mimic. There's nothing in the guidelines that says you have to match your neighbor identically. But to have that opportunity to create some cohesive street front attitude towards what that landscape is, the way the buildings front, could be a really interesting opportunity for these two sites working together.
Does the presenter have any comments related to those?
I'm sorry, Bob, what did you say?
I just wanted to know if the presenter had any responses to the concerns from Ethan and Vivian.
I think there's some very good points. The building will be entered from the parking lot. That will be the front entry, and the Route 1 will be back of house. That's absolutely correct. I think our approach was to, based on the manual, to make that look as much a part of the streetscape and part of the building as we could. I do like increasing the height on that corner, doing something maybe special there. But I guess the only way to handle some of that, and I do understand the film that goes on the back, because you can go to Maple Lawn and see that, because in a lot of instances, because all the parking's in the rear of Maple Lawn, and we do a lot of work at Maple Lawn, so I'm very familiar with that. But I think the way to do it, I mean, would you rather see just different materials and less glass, just to get some direction when we modify this for you? If you could address that, that'd be nice.
I think your approach to the facade is on point. Like that creating an architectural facade is better than creating a very distinct back of house. So I think you've made the most out of the situation. I wouldn't recommend changing any of the fenestration on that facade.
Right.
So you know, I don't know if there's constraints. I'm not seeing any landscape plan or plantings in front, but is there opportunity to get a row of trees lining that sidewalk, or something that just helps soften that edge when it does become clearly the back.
Right.
It adds just another layer of something in front of it that helps soften it.
Right.
Just a point of clarification, Rob, there's high power lines going across the front of this building that limits what we can plant there, right?
Yeah, so we are limited to certain types of trees at certain distances from those power lines. So we can't go with, and I'm not sure we'd want to, we can't go with really large deciduous trees close to those power lines. But BG does provide us with some smaller, not ornamental trees, but just smaller trees that they'll approve if we're certain distances from those overhead power lines. And I would say that I'm listening, as I'm listening to the conversation here, yeah, it's great to hear your suggestions, and I think we would try to incorporate some of those smaller trees, like I think Ethan said, closer to the sidewalk there. So, yep.
I think that that's important to look at, which reinforces what both Ethan and Vivian were saying about the importance of that corner for the tenants, because really their front door is going to be in the back. So if you could do some planting that helps take the curse off the fact that the facade on Route 1 is really going to be back a house, then I think you're well served in your project to make more of that corner to sort of direct people to the back and to make that a special place. So Larry, why don't you jump
Yeah.
in?
Okay. Yeah, I'm agreeing with the comments. Actually, can you go to the site plan?
Sure.
I can comment better from that plan.
I could zoom in a bit for you there.
Can you zoom in on that a little bit?
Sure will.
But we're pushing 45 minutes here, so let's go with that.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I wanted to compliment you on your selection of plant material. It looks like over 50, maybe even 70% of it is native plant material, which is great. Yeah, okay. Maybe just slightly smaller so I can see the amenities. Okay, that's good. That's good. The only thing is I don't really see a landscape plan. I'm used to seeing a plan because I'm hoping that you're going to help soften the parking lot by putting hopefully some trees in those islands and maybe at the left edge of the parking lot to help define the parking lot and give it some shade. I'm not really seeing a landscape plan. I just see the palette of trees that you're suggesting, which I think are good trees, as well as shrubs. So that's my comments for the parking lot. Until a few minutes ago, I was under the assumption that this building was storefronts at separate stores, that it was storefronts facing Route 1 and then different stores facing the back. But they're through stores, is what you're saying, so that you can enter the parking lot side and exit the Route 1 side if you wanted to, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I do agree. I don't know how close you can get to the power lines, but that walkway that's on the back side of the building that's connecting all the stores to the amenity space, there are trees, unfortunately probably not native, but you can do things that are more columnar in nature. There's a columnar beech. I hate to say crepe myrtle because they're kind of overused, but they are kind of narrow and could help you to find that area without getting in the way of the power lines. With regard to the amenity space, hopefully you'll really make that into something with some specialty pavement, maybe even porous pavement to help with your stormwater. I can't imagine having the patio tables and that there, but another way to animate the space is you'd have to go back to the other drawing, but that curved wall there, you could do maybe a couple low flagpoles or something, 2 on one side and 2 on the other, and then you could maybe colorful banners that are flying from that, just to kind of animate the space and give it a little special feature as you're viewing that corner from Route 1. And then finally, I think probably the way the walkway comes in, it might be better to have that walkway come maybe wider and it starts to head straight perpendicular to the back of the building, and then still have the branch off to the amenity space. And then that would create kind of a island planting area there that you could really do something special with in terms of perennials and flowering shrubs and things like that. So it's basically taking the walkway from Route 1 and going sort of straight towards the building, and then still have that branch off there, and then that kind of encircles a potential future planting area that I think you could do a lot with to help enhance the appearance from the Route 1 view shed. That's pretty much all I had. I think you've done a good job with the building, and I do agree with the architect's comments. I just think you can do a little bit more with the landscape.
Yeah, Larry, this is Rob. Number one, I appreciate your comments. I apologize for the landscaping not showing up on this slide. I do apologize for that. Obviously, we're going to want to not only, we're going to want to separate ourselves obviously from that building you see on the left there. So that's
Right.
Get a pretty heavy landscape screen, and I really do envision that. Even though we can't get under those power lines with trees, I like the idea of that really getting some great landscape treatment out front and actually creating almost like a park-like setting out there with this with this walkway going through it. So I'm all on board with what you're saying.
Okay, great.
Okay, thanks very much. Anyone have some motions for the planning department?
I'd like to make the motion about the landscape, that the applicant do a landscape plan that is sensitive to the needs of the parking lot in terms of shade, and then a landscape plan that enhances the appearance of the building from Route 1, including the walkways that connect to the amenity space.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Anyone else? Dan?
Yeah, I'd like to have a couple of quick conversations, not just to make emotions. I know I'm going backwards here, and I know we're short on time.
I forgot you. I apologize, Dan. Well, your picture wasn't on my screen, so you're out of mind.
Okay,
Go for it.
I got you. Mr. Vogel, my biggest concern here is I see is traffic for me, for both pedestrian and for vehicle traffic, that we're talking here on Blue Stream Drive. Was there any traffic study that was done about what increase in vehicle traffic, because this being a large intersection and I know there's not a traffic light there on US 1, was this looked at?
Yeah, so Dan, number one, I'm just going to tell you real quick that yes, I'm used as civil engineers. We always come last. They always forget us. So, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, a traffic study will be prepared in conjunction with the submission of the site development plan. I would tell you that the situation is way better now than it was 2 years ago, and for the reasons being that now we have a traffic signal at Kit Kat, and we have a fully operational signal at Blue Stream, and between those two signals, this area between the two signals will have a break in traffic, which is needed. And however, I would say before that it would be pretty tough to be able to get in and out. From a traffic study perspective, yes, we are subject to the county's traffic impact study requirements, which will be provided with the site plan.
Okay, I just want to make sure that isn't overlooked. The other thing I would say on the landscaping on this strip that's in the middle there on Blue Stream Drive. It looks a well enough pervious area for those trees. Just make sure you put in trees small enough that can live with that amount of area, so it has enough water to live. So there's no point in putting ornamental trees there if it can't grow. And the other thing is pedestrian traffic that goes, no, I guess south to north. Have you guys looked at a crossway across there? Put in a pedestrian crosswalk? That's something that can be looked at.
Yeah. So the pedestrian crosswalk is just off our map on this south side, which is the one that was just put in conjunction with the signal at Route 1 and Blue Stream Drive. That pedestrian crosswalk was just recently completed. SHA is probably not going to be happy with another signal or pedestrian crosswalk a couple 100 feet north here. So this sidewalk will connect ultimately to the sidewalk at the signal and provide a safe crossing at that location.
Can we at least put in striping for that, or we don't necessarily have to be signalized? It could just be striping for it, just to whatever amount of pedestrian traffic we're going to get there. Does that seem realistic or no?
I could certainly investigate that with FHA, but I'm going to think that they're not going to want to even invite pedestrian crossing where there's not signalization.
Okay. My other comment was, I know you guys have already looked at it, and it's just a warning, not a warning to make a comment. Just make sure, and because you said you're going to have to hold a 100-year storm there in the back, just make sure you guys have enough room for the stormwater management for that, because I know you guys are thin on space back there. So just make sure you have enough space back there to hold that.
Yep, yeah. So it's actually we passed the 100. We managed the 10. It's due to the deep run watershed, and we actually have already designed the stormwater management part. We're getting close to site plan here, so we actually designed the stormwater back there. Thank you.
And one other thing that is outside my line, but I'm going to comment on it. Instead of just putting in the trash bins, can you add recycling bins to that? As it's just a nice little gesture to throw in there to say we care about the environment and what's going on, since there's going to be people outside. If you guys can add that, that would be great. I think it would be good for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we make formal motions, I guess Larry already has made one. Just an editorial comment for the county. I think for all of these master planned areas where we want pedestrians and we're waiting for the private landowners to put the sidewalks in, I think you need to go ahead and assess the other landowners and put the sidewalks in to meet the crosswalks. It's kind of ridiculous. It's sort of like our transit system. We make people stand on the wet grass to wait for buses all over the county. But okay, that's my editorial. Any motions?
I'd like to make a motion. This is Ethan Marchant to study the cornice lines of the buildings, celebrate the corner, the signature corner, and perform sightline studies to ensure that rooftop mechanical systems are concealed from view as best as possible.
Any seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed. Anything else? Larry?
No, I'm good. I was just doing an aye.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, thanks very much. And we look forward to you completing a good project.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you all.
All right, Anthony, what do we have next?
We have the Scott property, age-restricted adult housing conditional use proposal coming up next.
Okay, do we have those folks available?
I believe most of them are. I'm looking in, I see that Brian Boy is listed as an attendee. I don't have the opportunity to make him a panelist as he's intended to be. So Brian, if you can hear me, you should have received a panelist link that would allow you to come in as a panelist and have speaking privileges in the meeting. So if you could just double check your email and make sure you've logged in with the email address that was provided. It was your Gmail address, I believe.
Hey guys, I'm Brandon Boy. Brian doesn't need to speak at this meeting, so he just logged in as a participant. Chris Malagari is going to do most of the presentation with the site design, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the building product.
Okay, perfect. Then I will go ahead and make Chris the presenter so that he can share his screen. And then if you ever need to share your screen, just let me know and we can switch it off to you.
I'll just be working off of Chris's screen, so that would be perfect.
Okay.
Okay, let's get started then. I'm not sure that you guys have been here before, but we start off with introductions. And then we allow you to do a 15-minute or so presentation. Then we have a staff report from the Department of Planning and Zoning. We ask questions and then we make motions to help guide Department of Planning and Zoning to hopefully make this a better design. So I'm Bob Gorman. I'm the vice chair of the Design Advisory Panel. I'm a planner and landscape architect. Larry?
Yes, hi, I'm Larry Quarrick, and I'm a landscape architect.
Ethan?
Hi, Ethan Marchant. I'm an architect.
Dan?
Civil engineer.
Are you still with us, Ev?
I'm here. It's Vivian.
Oh, sorry.
Who's Ev? Yeah, Vivian Stone, architect.
Okay, if you'd introduce yourselves and then make your presentation.
Can I just jump in for 1 second, Bob, before we let the team introduce themselves? I did want to
Sure.
acknowledge we did receive a number of community comments, and I see that there are a number of community members joining us for tonight's meeting. Those comments that we received through our website and through emails to myself, Anthony Cataldo, or Nicholas Haynes have been shared with the DAP panel. So they have those comments that were sent in. So they have them and are able to review them and be able to use them as they evaluate the project. So just wanted to acknowledge that. I know there was a comment that came up in the chat room, but yes, the comments that were sent into DPZ have been shared with the panel about this project. Apologize. You can go ahead.
And just for the viewing public to know, we are an advisory panel. We advise the Department of Planning and Zoning on design issues, and our goal is to make the project as good as they can be for both the community and the developer. And it's not a regulatory agency, and we don't have veto power over what gets done, but we can make recommendations which carry some weight with the final approval.
Mr. If I might just interject, are those public comments, are they on the DAP's website, or can we get a copy of those comments?
We will certainly send you a copy of those comments. They've been coming in through email.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So if you'll introduce yourselves and then make your presentation.
Okay, great. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. This is Chris Malagari. I'm the civil engineer for the project. And Brandon Boy is the one of the developers of the property. I will present the site existing and developed condition, and then Brandon will talk about the residential architecture.
And who is Mr. Erskine?
I'm a land use attorney representing the developer, and I'm here just to take notes.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. So the site is, can everybody see the screen well enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's the site. This is sort of a bird's eye view. The site is in the southeast quadrant of the intersection of South Trotter Road and Swimmer Row Way. This is South Trotter and this is Swimmer Row Way. The South Trotter Road is a major collector road, and Swimmer Row Way is a public access place. The site currently consists of 2 lots. There's a lot line that runs right kind of down through the property like this. So there's two lots there. One lot has an existing house on it, which is back in this corner here. And their access to the house is from a driveway off of South Trotter Road that traverses along this property line and back to the house. The other lot is a vacant lot, which sits right in about this area here. It's adjacent to Swimmer Row Way. The property is zoned R20. The South Trotter Road is an open section road. Currently does not have any pedestrian access sidewalks along South Trotter. Swimmer Row Way, again, is a public road, and that has sidewalk from the intersection on into the residential neighborhood that sits back in this area here. There's an existing pond that sits in the middle of the site right here. This is a farm pond that was built, I believe, back in the late 50s, early 60s. It's a wet pond. It is not a stormwater management pond. It's just a farm pond. There's currently an existing floodplain that exists on the property that comes up from this area here and projects up to about the toe of the embankment of the existing pond. And it's not a very large floodplain. It's only about this big here. And that's only because the drainage area to that point exceeds 30 acres. And according to the county regulations, anything over 30 acres has to be analyzed for a 100-year flood. The Swimmer Row Way was actually designed by Benchmark Engineering many years ago. And there's 4 culvert pipes that go under the road right about here that do pass the 100-year storm. We actually as well did this neighborhood back here, and actually Cornerstone Homes developed the property and built the homes back here as well. So they're very familiar with the area as well as we are.
Just a clarification, does the surrounding community, their stormwater, does it go under these structures and into that pond?
No, the stormwater management for this property back here, the property drops off and flows east.
Okay.
There's microbiomes, rain gardens type facilities back in the back of the property that handle that.
Okay.
There is drainage that comes onto the site from the school, which is right here. That's the middle school. And it discharges water like right about in this area here, and it goes on through a culvert pipe that is underneath of this existing driveway, goes through the pond, and then there's an outfall from the pond right down in this clump of trees here, and then the water goes through the pipes and under the road. And again, this isn't a stormwater management pond, so pretty much any large storms that flow into the property, it's kind of water in, water out type situation, because this is a wet pond. There isn't any storage in there. So in the larger storms, my understanding is that the water flows around the emergency spillways, which are in the corners, and then flow on down into this low area here, and then through the pipes under the road.
And Chris, what's the average depth of that pond?
You know, I think it's on an average, I think it's 6 or 7 feet.
Okay.
So we actually are in the process of processing plans through the state to remove this pond and restore the existing stream that used to traverse through the property. That back in the early 50s, well, as far as back as I could go, before the pond was built, there was an existing stream that ran up from the River Hill area all the way up through this property, through the school property, and on up towards Guilford Road. So when we met with the state MDE and DNR at the site, they really wanted to see the pond removed and the stream restored, because this is a class 4 cold water stream, and they really would like to see it continue to be that use. So the owners are very much agreed to remove the pond. As I said, it was built back in the late 50s. It doesn't have any current state standards and specs for pond embankments and outfall control structures and things like that. So it's just a farm pond and waiting to someday fail.
Just for a clarification for all the people listening in, what does a class 4 cold water stream mean? And it's not like a trout stream.
No, it's a cold water. It's just the state has various classifications of streams throughout the state, and this particular one falls in a class 4. I don't really know much more other than that's what they told me.
I'm sorry,
big
Chris.
or little? Is that big or little? Like, is 1 bigger than 4 or the reverse?
Yeah, it's 4 is small.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had a clarification question. So you said historically the stream went through the parking lot of the school. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, before the school was built. Yeah. Back
Right. So if you're trying to rebuild the stream, where's it going to run now that the school's there?
Oh, okay. Good question. So right now the discharge from the school property is right here, and then it goes through a culvert and then a little channel that runs into the pond. So we're going to, and you'll see it on the next plan here, we're going to restore the stream, and it's going to be sort of a meandering stream up through the property to the property line here, so that when the water discharges from the school site, it'll follow the stream on down through the culvert and continue on down through the property below, which is also a flood tolerant area that's open space within the River Hill development below the property.
Chris,
Chris, I don't want to extend this too much. I just want one other question. Where's the rest of the stream? I mean, is it piped underneath the school parking lots, or, I mean, I understand you want it.
Yeah, it got filled in over the years. It got turned into farm fields and used for, this was all, very big agricultural area in this section of the county back in the 40s, 50s. So at some point, farmers used to put drain tile in and, drain off their fields so they could farm. So, it's just, if you go back and look at the old maps, there was a stream that ran up through there. I don't know how big it was, but it was there.
And does everybody understand that this stream is running away from the school? It's running away from the school, not towards the school.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah.
My biggest, can I go ahead? And I know we're running into your presentation here, and maybe I'll save it for later. And I'll go back over this later on. My biggest concern here is now the time of concentration that used to have a long delay there in the pond and then run after, and now you're going to put a meandering stream. Have you guys looked at that, and that impacts downstream and capacities of those pipes below?
Yeah, well, we didn't do the stream restoration plans that are being processed right now through the state. It was done by a company called Baylands. They specialize in stream restorations and things like that. So they analyzed the drainage area to the property, to the culvert pipes under Swimmer Row Way, and they designed the stream accordingly. They did a 100-year floodplain study to verify that the existing culvert pipes do pass the 100-year storm as we expected them to.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So I think I'm done with the existing conditions, and I'm going to move on to the next plan sheet, which is our proposed concept. Hopefully you can see it good enough to understand what we're showing here. I'll zoom in a little bit more. So under the developed conditions, the developer is proposing age-restricted adult community, which is basically over 55 community. And to do that, we have to use the conditional use process through the R20 zoning regulations. They're proposing 25 age-restricted villas. They're detached. It's like a single-family home, basically. They're about 2,800 square feet in size, 2-car garage, 1 story with possible 2-story basements, with basements. And Brandon will elaborate a little bit more on that when I'm done with my presentation. There will be an HOA or condominium type regime that will handle the maintenance of the property, the common areas and snow removal and things like that. So we're proposing along South Trotter Road. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Right now, the school, my understanding is a lot of kids that walk down South Trotter Road to the community back in here. So we're proposing to start a new sidewalk from the existing crosswalk here that crosses South Trotter Road between Pointers Run Elementary School and Clarksville Middle School. And we're going to run a sidewalk down from there all the way down to the intersection of Swimmer Row Way and South Trotter Road to tie into the existing sidewalk here in order to keep the kids off the road and to provide proper pedestrian access. The road will, as I said earlier, is an open section road. We will be providing curb and gutter along our side of the road from our property to the intersection, from the beginning of our property to the intersection of Swimmer Row Way. There are no public roads on our proposed development. This road back here is basically a common driveway to serve these 16 units here. So we actually, in the county regulations with a common driveway, you're only really required to provide 16 feet for the paving width, but we're proposing 24 to kind of enhance the access into the units, give a little bit of room for people that might need to park along the side of the road if they're visiting or whatever. And again, keep in mind, this is age restricted. So these, these are not young families that are going to be partying a lot, I don't think. That's what we're proposing there. We're proposing a community building, which is required under the conditional use. It's going to be approximately 500 square feet in size. We're providing access to that building from the public road and providing more than required parking in here. I think the parking required was only 5 or 6 spaces, but we're providing 10. and the community building will be here. Right now, the building is situated here. We're hoping that we might be able to reduce the buffering over here to maybe slide this building a little bit further to the west to get it away from the back of these units here, to try to enhance, their backyards. Trash collection will be public. There will be a trash pad up here in the beginning of the common driveway, where I'm circling with my cursor. That will be the trash pad for these 16 homes here, and then the homes over off that have direct access off of South Trotter Road would just put their trash out at the end of their driveway and would be picked up by the county trash people. We're proposing public water and sewer. It is within the Metropolitan Water and Sewer District. So we'll be extending water and sewer up from Swimmer Row Way. And then there's also public water and sewer in South Charter Road that we'll be tying directly into for each of the single family units. As I mentioned earlier, the stream, this darker line that kind of snakes up to the property is the proposed meandering stream. Again, that's been designed by an environmental consultant, and we're processing plans with the state of Maryland for the proper permits to do this work. Right now, we're showing 100-foot stream buffer from the proposed restored stream area, and we're also showing an approximate floodplain, which is this heavier dashed line. Actually, the accuracy of that is not very good on this plan, because since we had prepared this plan, the environmental consultant had finished up their floodplain study and found that the floodplain is much smaller than what we have shown here. The honeycombed hatched area is a proposed area for planting of forest conservation, which is a requirement by the county to provide forest conservation for new developments. With this site being vacant, it would be an afforestation requirement, and it's probably going to be about 1.5 acres of planting required to meet that afforestation requirement. Planting in the floodplain is highly recommended by the county, so that's why we're proposing it in this area. We're proposing landscaping in accordance with the county landscape manual. We're showing perimeter landscaping as required. We're showing proposed street trees along South Charter Road as required. The trees along Swimmer Row Way are existing street trees, and those will remain. We're doing some additional landscaping around the community building and around the trash pad and the microbial retention facilities that we're proposing up in the front of the site here. Stormwater management will be handled through dry wells for the rooftops and microbials for the common driveway and possibly some of the rooftops in this area as well. The landscaping that we're proposing, like I said, is based on the county landscape manual. Mostly the perimeter landscaping will be maples and probably like London plane type species. And red oak was proposed for along the road and also some internal planting. The forest conservation planning, I'm not sure what that's going to be, but that's the typical whip type plantings that they put in for forest conservation. And we're also proposing some white pines scattered throughout the perimeter planting areas. That's pretty much it for the developed conditions. Moving on to, we have some well, here's a colored rendering, kind of give you an idea. I did forget to mention pathways. We are proposing a series of pathways through the open space. The first one is this gray meandering pathway, starting at the proposed sidewalk on South Charter Road, traversing into the site down along the stream area with a few benches along the path, and then tying back into the sidewalk on Swimmer Row Way. And then over on the other side of the stream, proposing a path off the end of the T turnaround and down to the community building, and then connecting to the existing sidewalk on Trotters or on Swimmer Row Way as well. You're probably wondering why we didn't connect the pathway. There is some concern that, you know, if we did connect it, that this would become a shortcut for the community children that live back in this area as they work their way over to the school. We kind of wanted to avoid having them walking through this community to cut the corner. So that's was kind of the thought process there. The next picture is just a sort of a bird's eye view of kind of how the artist visualized this layout. This is looking. This is South Trotter Road, and this is kind of looking northeast across the site. This is the meandering stream area down through here with the plantings for the forest conservation, community building in the background, and then Swimmer Row Way as well in the background. And then another angle looking southeast. Again, this is South Trotter Road, and this is looking towards the school. And then this would be a typical view of looking up the common driveway as if you were standing in Swimmer Row Way, looking up the common driveway and looking at the 16 units. And then this last slide would be pretty much the entire development, looking pretty much from the intersection of Swimmer Row Way and South Trotter, looking southeast with the school in the background up in this area here. And that concludes my presentation. I'll turn it over to Brandon to talk briefly about the architecture and material for the proposed single-family dwellings.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I'll be pretty quick here. As Chris mentioned, we're proposing 25 single-family detached homes. The builder has not yet been confirmed, but we've been discussing this community with NV Homes. So the product represented in this package are homes from other NV communities that are 55 and older or age specific. These house types are set up and designed to fulfill the requirements of the 55 and over conditional use. The floor plans all utilize single floor living, but come with the option of adding a second floor and or finishing the basement. These lots will have a combination of both walkout basements and in-ground basements. The community building will be similar in architecture to the homes to be built. The elevations and renderings shown here are representative of what the builder has done in similar communities in the area, including but not limited to color schemes and exterior finishes. We believe this product has very high demand and is market tested based on NV Homes' success in similar communities. We also think that we've presented here is compatible with the surrounding community. So what you're seeing in these pictures that Chris has here are the actual product from NV Homes. That's what I have as far as what you're seeing with these homes here.
Thanks very much. Nick, staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Nicholas Haynes. I'm a planner in the Department of Planning and Zoning, I'm the DAP liaison. Mr. Malagari and Mr. Boyd did I think, a very good job of presenting what they have proposed here this evening for the two lots 1 and 2 at the intersection of South Trotter Road and Swimmers Row Way. Just quick background information. The two combined properties are 9.75 acres, excuse me, and they are zoned R20. As Mr. Pellegari mentioned earlier, because it's age restricted, as was proposed, a conditional use here petition is required in order to move forward with this product on R20 zoned land. So they will be sort of the next step. They will be moving forward, toward with the hearing to allow that use specific to this site. As they mentioned, 25 age restricted homes. They're utilizing a private access way and really creating 2 rows really of housing along surrounding the stream restoration project. So there are a lot of elements I think to consider with this project. DPZ would like the panel to really, if you can, touch on some of the comments made by the public. We did receive a lot of public outreach, commentary letters, and comments towards this design. If you could, maybe touch on some of the major items at the very least to address some of the public concerns, we would greatly appreciate some of that input. If you could talk about the layout, configuration of the site plan, does it fit within the context of the neighborhood and surrounding residences? Does the architecture, complement, what's currently constructed around the neighborhood? Do any of these elements really, help bring the community together? If you could also talk about the amenity spaces that they have proposed on site. They do have the required community building, and it's currently meeting Department of Planning and Zoning specs, but is there maybe a better layout or maybe an alternate idea for maybe how that could be placed if this design is to move forward? We greatly appreciate any comments the panel might have on these matters.
Okay. I'll start off. Can you go back to the site plan?
The colored one or the black and
That's
white?
fine. The colored one's fine. So you're asking for a zoning variance, a change in the zoning.
No, it's not a zoning variance.
What is it?
It's not a change in zoning. It's just it's by right under the R20 zoning to do conditional use.
But it's a change from what's allowed right now. Yes or no?
It's a change. Well, it's single family detached units. It's just the change, I guess, would be that it's age restricted versus anybody buying a house there.
So other than that, and the fact that that allows you to do twice as many houses as what the current zoning allows, why do you feel this is necessary?
Well, under the R20 zone, there's various ways that this property can be developed. You can do it as a single family detached, which would be two units per acre, which would equate to about 19 units. You could do it as an RED, which which is 2 units per net acre, which would be 18 units. You could do it as a single family attached development, and you can do it as a conditional use. Under the conditional use, we're allowed 4 dwelling units per net acre, which would be 36 units. We're only proposing 25. We could do single family attached under the conditional use, which would be 36 units, multiplex, which is 36, or semi-detached, which would be 36. So, we're proposing 25.
It seems really incompatible with the neighborhood to me. You're not even connecting up your pathways to the school. Well, and why not put a fence along that line to keep the school kids out? I don't know. It's just the whole plan just looks like you're trying to maximize the number of units you can cram in there under some legal, way within the zoning, and it just strikes me as you're not showing any street trees, internally. The houses are like right on top of each other. The whole plan leaves me cold, and I don't see this as a positive addition to this community. It just looks like a density play. I would allow the other panelists to comment on this.
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead. This is Larry Quarrick. I agree. I mean, the house footprints seem to be approximately the same as the ones that are on Swimmer Row Way, but those houses have bigger lots. So it just, I do have that feeling that things are being jammed into this site. There's what, 10 acres there, and I know you're not putting as many as you could, but they're all just clustered so tightly together, especially the one on the private roadway there. I've seen those in several places in the county, and they don't really work that well. As far as, like, you have those short driveways, and I know in my own neighborhood, 50% of the people don't use their garage for cars, so they have the cars out in the driveway. I don't know where guests would even park along that private road coming in off of Swimmer Row Way, because I know it's 24 feet wide, but if you have guests or are having some sort of event, it seems like it would be one big jam up. And the other thing is, I know you have the trash collection okay on South Trotter Road, but when you have those pads there, I've seen those on recycle day and trash pickup day. It's a big mess when you have, 16 homes there with all those trash cans out there for 2 different days. So again, it's just so many houses within just a small area of the site, and it just seems out of character with the community. And then I get to the stream. I don't understand the stream. I support streams. I'm a part of the Chesapeake Conservation Landscape Council, and we do encourage riparian buffers and restoring streams, but this doesn't seem to be a free-flowing stream. I mean, there's water on the site now via the pond because it retains the water because of the dam structure, but there's really no stream at the bottom end of the site. It's just coming off the parking lots or drainage pipes. So I guess I'm looking at this as being basically more of a marshland or a dry stream bed unless there's a rain event. Now it's the pond, keeps a certain water level there, as you said, like 5 or 6 feet, but I just struggle with the decision to, trying to restore a stream that really isn't there anymore. I mean, it's more of drainage coming from a school parking lot. That's my comments.
Yeah, can I address that?
Sure.
So the pond is a wet pond because there's a spring there.
Okay.
So there's going to be there's a water source.
Okay. And no one has said that before, so.
Yeah. So the water that discharges off the school property has to have a place to go. So it's gonna flow down through this stream channel. And then on through the culvert pipes and on down through the rest of the open space area and stream that it currently exists through the River Hill community to the north.
So what you're saying is during a rain event period, there would still be water flow in the stream from the spring?
I would think there would be a base flow, yes. Yeah.
The last thing I would want to create is basically just a marshy area or just a dry stream bed that is really not functioning as a stream unless there's, rain to supply it, for that day.
Yeah.
So I still have questions on that. I had thought that somehow that stream is just piped under a portion of the Clarksville Middle School, and then there's open stream somewhere like off the map. I guess I don't know if that's south or whatever, but apparently that's not the case. It's just basically drainage from the parking lot, which makes me wonder what water quality type. Maybe Dan can have questions on that or address that. I struggle to see how the water quality from the school is going to be handled if there's no retention basin.
Well, the school was built back in the late 70s when stormwater management in the state of Maryland really wasn't required.
Right.
It didn't come into play until the early 80s.
Aren't we taking the opportunities to retrofit and go back and correct sort of mistakes, or maybe not even mistakes, just we didn't know what was the best way to to handle stormwater, and things have definitely evolved over the last 40 years or so.
Mm-hmm. Right, but there are storage pipes that are under the parking lot at the school, and I know they've put an addition onto the school. I don't know when, but it was when stormwater management was required. So they did provide stormwater management for some of the additions that they put on the school or parking lot or whatever. But in any development that we do, we're not required to provide stormwater management or quality management for other people's properties. We're only required to do it for ours. But we have to pass water that comes into our site. We have to pass it through our site. So in this particular case, that's what we're doing. We're passing the water from the school site through the stream and on down through the rest of the stream area to the river.
Okay, I guess that I still have that question as to what the intent is, which sounds to be good in terms of what you're trying to recreate as a riparian buffer. I just question whether there's really going to be a stream there, whether that spring that you're talking about is really going to be enough water to actually, make that look like a stream.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't have any further comments.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Ethan Marchant. I have a number of comments here. I will take an unpopular view and say that I do believe that there is an opportunity for age-restricted homes on this lot. But I think that has to be done in a way that considers this particular lot and what it is you're dealing with. Just striking straight lines and orthogonal geometries on natural topography doesn't work. It's driving most of these comments. I think if you look at the aerial between Swimmer Row Way and Route 32 off the extent of this view are smaller homes that are quite densely packed. I don't know the zoning, I don't know the lot sizes, but there is a precedent in this vicinity that shows that the density of similar to what you're looking at. It's a four-sided piece of property that is bifurcated about this stream. The Trotter Road facade does not have any of those residential patterns. They are large lots and single-family homes on half-acre lots or larger. And just simply, stacking up that many homes along there is foreign and is a little bit harsh. all those driveways crossing the sidewalk on a route to school is very difficult. And I would challenge you to if that is the route that you insist on going, create a community space in the green area that creates a pedestrian connection through the site rather than across 10 driveways or 9 driveways, and which would thereby be a safer route to the school. With that said, I don't think the number 9 units stacked up on Trotter Road are appropriate, but I could see a scenario on the rear of the site where there is less frontage by creating a street with some density. I would encourage you to look at that street and allow it to sort of follow the natural topography and create kind of a more organic pattern of housing in that landscape, and create maybe one finger street that comes in and adds a little bit of density and can get your revenue close to where it is, but then kind of consider that other half of the site to be less dense, maybe more traditional R20 type development even, but still be able to tuck that density into the site in a way that doesn't just create straight lines coming straight out of your CAD program and stacking things up and putting the minimum amount of space between them. So I think the site is really asking for a double-headed approach to really look at it and respond to the context on all 4 sides. So I think the next step should really consider that as a design advice from a design advisory panel.
Okay, well, I appreciate the opinion there, Ethan. Thank you.
I agree. I agree with Ethan. There's really two scenarios here. The one on South Trotter Road, which I totally agree with Ethan, should be a more traditional, way less houses than you're showing there. The other finger of the site, I totally agree with Ethan. It's probably a few less houses, a real street with a real turnaround at the end of it. I mean, I don't know how you're even going to do snow removal on something like that. You have no street trees. It's going to be just a terrible environment down that alley of trash cans and recycle cans and cars parked there. It's too much. So I think you really got 2 different scenarios here. You can still do your project. You can probably still get more than the minimum number of units that the site calls for, but maybe not the number you're looking at. I agree with Larry about, let's not shut the school kids out. Let's invite them in to cross the site. Older people like kids too. Let them walk across your site. If you're going to do such a great job of opening the stream valley and creating landscape, let them enjoy it along with the rest of the community. Because right now it's a community asset, and you're taking that away. So I'm totally in Ethan's camp on this.
Okay, so let me just make sure I'm clear on this, Bob. So this pathway here that we're proposing off of South Trotter on down to here, that's not inviting people into the property?
But it doesn't connect to the school, does it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, I thought you said you were discouraging that.
No, I was discouraging connecting this path here to this path over here so that people can walk through the property and cut this corner.
Well, I think you ought to encourage that so that the people who live there can walk around the environmental area at both north and south. Make that a loop walkway. Why not? People walk with their dogs.
We could do that. I mean, that's, I just pointed that out that that's why we did what we did. But
and with so many of these infill 55 and over projects where you have to provide a community building, I'd lobby to not do a community building here. Why are you sticking a parking lot behind these people's houses? No one's going to use that building, and I know it's a requirement, but you got to find a more creative way to meet that requirement. That's just an add-on that doesn't add anything to the project.
Yeah, well,
I have a comment. I'm looking at the aerial now, and if you wanted to knit this into the community that's there, I would build along Swimmer Row Way. I mean, if you look at that street, you know, you're basically your sides are to that street. I mean, that's the denser street. I think that's where you should have your frontage, all your houses fronting. I mean, not as close as they are together, but maybe, you know, similar to the density that is on the adjacent property. And then South Charter Way as a road, as Ethan had mentioned, is a lot less dense. I mean, that is, I feel like should be maybe a softer edge. Maybe your houses are on Swimmer Row, and yeah, I don't know. You just do have too many. You have too many units on the property for this area. But you know, if you're going to build up an edge, look at how it matches and fits into the rest of the community. Right now, it's a very inward facing, and it is kind of an affront that the street, the frontage that you have on South Charter Road, that's very foreign. It's unlike anything in the area. So I think start by looking at the adjacent sites and how you can fit into it. But right now, it's just, I don't feel like it is a successful property. And I agree with Bob. I mean, the pathetic little community building is just a throwaway. And it's not well thought out. I don't mind the architecture of the buildings. I think they're very nice, and it looks like you have really nice mix of materials. But I do think that your perspectives are a little, they seem very misleading. They look a lot further apart than I think they actually will be if you look at the distances on the site plan. I'm just a little concerned. I think it's too dense.
Okay, can we ask for some motions? I'll start off.
Can I give my little civil perspective here? That's okay, before we start to
Absolutely,
suggestions?
Absolutely.
All right, sorry, Bob.
Sorry again.
And I think what everybody is going at here is that we want the community to absorb what you guys are developing. And I think that's really the key issue, and that we are not a regulatory. Whatever's required by law, you know, that's by law. We're just offering suggestions, and that's all we're doing. So let's just keep that in mind for the people who are listening, and what we are suggesting, okay? So it's just a suggestion, it's not a requirement. And with that, the couple of things I think that you could do to make it a little bit more acceptable. I do like the stream coming through here. I know that there is the H&H modeling of existing condition and proposed condition is going to be really a tight line for you guys to go through, and I hope you guys got a good engineering firm to do that. But one of my suggestions would be to widen those sidewalks to really invite people and the kids to go through this community and connect up a little bit better with the school. I think you guys need to look at that, because the way it is, particularly the one that's on South Trotter Road, they're not going to take that shortcut, then all of a sudden go to South Trotter Road to get to the school. They're going to cut across, because that's what kids are going to do. So maybe somehow you can connect better up with the school would be a great suggestion, even though I know it's not your property. But if that's something that can be looked at with the school, would be inviting for the people that live in this community. Next thing I would look at is some of these houses that are on South Trotter, particularly at the ends, maybe you can face swimmer rowway instead, as another possible suggestion. And the other thing I would say is these turnaround that you have on the end of the alley needs to be widened up so trash trucks and fire department can get through here a lot easier would be widely suggested. Other than that, that's all I have.
And I just wanted to bring up a quick point. Thank you all for your comments. Obviously, we'll spend the next few weeks kind of going through these and seeing how we can have a meeting of minds and if it's connecting sidewalks. But the comments about the tightness of the homes, I do think the site plan is a little bit deceiving as far as distance to houses. There is 15 feet between houses, and what we did was we adopted a lot of the stuff that you see about 150 feet to the left in River Hill. So while it may not mirror what's across the street, it's mirroring what's behind those houses. It's very conducive to what's in the area, even if it's not what's conducive to the 60-year-old homes across the street. But again, appreciate those comments. I think we have some good ideas to work with here. Chris, did you have any other comments on those, what they were mentioning there?
Just for Dan, just for your edification, this T turnaround we show here meets the county requirement for a T turnaround. So that's adequate for emergency vehicle turnaround and trash truck and things like that. Although I highly doubt a trash truck would come up this, it would stop here at the intersection and gather the trash there. The pathway, again, like Brandon said, we'll be more than happy to try to connect it internally. Want to reiterate again that we are building a sidewalk 850 feet from this intersection all the way down to the school to make that final connection for safety reasons and for the community.
Thanks.
Okay. The panel will now make recommendations to the Department of Planning and Zoning, who hopefully will take them under consideration. So I'm going to start off. And,
Hey, Bob, can I just interject here, because I think we're going to need to see this plan back in front of the panel. I think we can request that, and I don't know if that means we make formal motions or not. But I guess I want clarification on that. But I mean, we can make motions all we want, but if we're going to request a return to the panel, do we need to do that?
I need a little guidance from Anthony on that. If can we make motions and ask him back?
Yes. So good question, Ethan. I think to be the most productive, it would be most helpful to have formal motions that they could work on and address at a future meeting.
But I agree with Ethan that I think we need to see this again. We owe it to the county and the community and to the developer because we're trying to help him too. So I'd like to make an initial motion that that the units along Trotter Road are reduced and more reflect the condition of the community on the other side of South Trotter Road. All in favor?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dan? Larry? We've lost everyone.
Aye.
Okay. We've got a positive there. I'd like to make a second motion that the pathway system be enhanced to create a full loop both at the north and the south, so that the community of people who live here and the surrounding community can enjoy this wonderful stream valley you're creating. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dan, Larry?
Aye.
Vivian?
Aye.
I'd like to make a third motion that the the private street off of Swimmer Row have a few less units. You have a little bit more generous separation between the units and have a real cul-de-sac at the end. Because that doesn't work. Second,
I'll second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone else?
Although I have a different motion. I mean, I kind of
allowed.
want to, but yeah. I, yeah. So I feel like I would like to see the orientation of the houses face Swimmer Row Way. And I'm not really sure what to do with the rest of the site, but I feel like that really needs to be continued. And I do not like the orientation of the houses facing each other, running perpendicular to Swimmer Row Way. I don't think that, yeah, it doesn't work as it is. Maybe, Bob, with your suggestion, it could work. But I would like to see the plan with houses facing Swimmer Row Way.
I agree. A second.
Vivian, could you
Make
could you
motion.
maybe make that like a slightly more like clear and concise
Motion.
motion?
Motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to
So
make
that
a
we can-
motion to have the houses oriented facing Swimmer Row Way without the side street. I don't know how to say it, perpendicular, the private street with double loaded private street.
I can't second that because I don't see how that really helps the project much other than a couple of houses. But anyone else who wants to second it, go ahead.
I like the idea of at least putting some of them facing Swimmer Row Way, like Vivian was suggesting, just because it breaks up the monotony of what you have. But Bob, I agree with you. You can only do so much.
I agree with Bob and Dan. I think that an opportunity for density is best achieved with the single road, the private road.
I'd like to make a motion that the applicant lobby the zoning commission to not require them to do a community building that is of no purpose on this site, but instead connect up to the school and encourage that connection.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
I'll third it.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Bob, I like that idea, but you gonna help us do that?
I'm sorry, we're just an advisory committee. Sometimes these things are ridiculous.
Yeah,
A 500-foot community building is serving no one.
I agree, but it's part of the requirements.
I understand that,
Tell
but
you
you're
right
also
now, they're not-
asking for another variance, so ask for that variance.
And then we can also put that in our notes that this is our suggestion, that maybe that will help with the board. So those notes will be taken into account.
That'd be
Chris.
great.
When
That'd
you
be
have
great.
when you have a community of less than 40 houses, no one uses the community buildings. No one.
Yeah, I agree.
And not to mention it's less impervious area too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a win-win for everybody if you guys can get rid of this.
And no one needs the extra parking lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's,
So
Hey,
Ethan,
Larry,
when you
you're
were
muted. Excuse me, sorry, Larry, you've been muted, and I know that you've been trying to speak. I'm not quite sure what you're speaking about.
I was wondering why I was being ignored.
Well, we can't see you, Larry.
You can't see me?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here. So I do have a motion, and it all has everything to do with the water flow. And because I think until it can be proven that this really has enough water flow for a stream, and maybe it's the state that's, you know, you're working with here, but it seems to me that there's a possibility of a roadway or an internal connection, you know, across what you're calling a stream on the area where it's very close to the parking lot for the school. Because if there is a spring, you know, in this site, maybe it's more centered to the site. And if that's the true water source, then you want to do a stream from that point. You may not have to look at it as bifurcating the whole site. So my motion is that the applicant take a closer look at the stream area that is being shown on the plan, and really have engineering backup that the stream will really work there, and that it has to be where it's shown on the plan now. Is that not clear enough for a motion, or is that, do I need
That's
to?
not clear enough for a motion. Make that a little bit clearer.
Okay, the motion is that the applicant take a closer look at the internal green space area, particularly where the stream is being shown, to see whether a stream is feasible on this site.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so you all crushed my idea, but I do want to revisit
We love you.
the
Vivian.
whole, yeah, thank you. I do want to revisit Ethan's comment about the organic layout of this area. I mean,
Right.
is there some way that we can have a more organic street structure or site layout? Because I do think, I don't know how to make this, it just seems so foreign. Like, I don't want to see South Trotter Road built up the way it is now. Like, how do we make that softer?
Yeah, and
Vivian,
Vivian, this is,
Vivian,
sorry, Vivian, that's why I was saying if we know more about this so-called stream, maybe it's possible to have a road that curves in, starts at South Trotter and curves maybe kind of parallel to the school boundary, and then curves and then ends up on Swimmer Row Way, and then the houses are along that on a gentle curve, which would be more organic. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's possible, but I think it's worth looking at.
Yeah, I just want to say, try something different. I don't know what.
Vivian, your motion could be to investigate a more organic street network.
Okay, I like that. Can I make that motion? Our motion?
I'll
What
second it.
motion you want?
right, if you make it, I'll second it.
Okay, I make it.
I'll second it.
Articulate it. Vivian, articulate it for the record.
I would like to make a motion that we see a more organic street network on this site.
I will
I'll second that
motion.
with qualifications that it may not be possible, but I'll second it.
Aye.
Aye. Larry?
Passed.
Just throwing in my 2 cents here. Maybe one of the possible ways on South Trotter Road, is it possible does it make sense to have the driveways in the back and have an alley back there, or no? Chris, I'll let the engineering guys talk on that.
I
know
just
it's
don't
out of
think,
character, and I
just don't see a
apologize.
way for. I just don't see a way for that density to along South Trotter to be even remotely considered contextual. It's so foreign to everything around it that something has to be done differently on that frontage than the rest of the site.
I agree. You want to make a motion, Ethan?
I think you already made that motion.
Would a shared driveway be any better?
Less dense and more contextual. We already made that motion.
I think we can figure out a way to get density on the site, maybe not to 25 homes, but if you look at the backside as a separate type of layout, separate type of house, and the Trotter side as something that's more kind of ingrained in what's surrounding that portion of the site, there could be a really elegant solution that comes out of this that that, you know, gives the cues that the site and the context are throwing at you. Expand the site plan. Look, you know, look at the area that's 2-3 times the size of what we're looking at on the screen, and it'll be very obvious and very, you know, self-evident about where things should go and how they can work.
I agree. Any other comments or motions?
I just had one final question. Where is the current entry into the site, the Scott property? Can someone show me that?
So it's right about here. Do you see my
Oh,
cursor?
On the south
Okay.
edge.
Okay, gotcha.
Bob, I just want to be clear.
Okay.
Make sure
This driveway right here.
I
That
just want to make
tree
sure
line.
I want to make sure we're clear and requesting that the panel is requesting that they come back to address these comments.
Yes.
Yes.
We would make a formal request that you respond to our comments and come back with another pass at this plan. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We have to have a formal second, I guess. Ethan, second that.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. I think we're done. Thank you very much.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much for your input and have a great evening.
It's a great site.
Thanks,
You guys
Chris.
could do good
Appreciate it.
things with this.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other business, Anthony?
I don't believe, Nick, do we have any other business for the panel?
Not at this moment in time. We currently don't have anything scheduled for the next meeting. The cutoff date is tomorrow. I'll let everybody know if we get something in. I do have one small bit of news. The terrace system that was behind the Sheraton Hotel when the panel reviewed that was a few years ago. With the frontage along Lake Kittamakundi, that's going to be coming. We're going to have designs for you guys. The panel had requested that you be able to see those in an unofficial capacity to make general comments on that. So that's
great.
something, and we'll add that.
Would you send us our comments from that time? I remember them, but I think the rest of the panel should have them.
Yes, I will. I'm going to forward the summary and the motions made with that when we get them in, and we can touch on that at one of the next scheduled meetings, sort of in
Because I'm watching that with trepidation.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys you had a lot to say about it, and it wasn't included in the scope of that original Sheridan plan. So.
Yeah, Nick, I also noticed that the plans that we reviewed for the play area next to what's the not Sprouts, but what's the other store, the organic grocery store?
Oh, Whole Foods. The
Whole Foods. That's already constructed, and it turned out pretty nice. I had my grandkids there. It was pretty fun. And there were some changes, but it's basically what we approved.
Yeah, it turned out
Good
nice.
grandfather.
Yeah. No, I am.
Okay, well, I guess we can adjourn.
9:08.
Is that it?
That's it. Thank you,
That's it.
everybody, for attendance
Thanks.
and your comments.
We're
Thank you,
adjourned.
everyone. See you next time.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.